All right. Hey, everyone. This is Coach Dave March here, and we got a special guest, no special guest today. And as you already know, I'm a career transition coach, leadership coach, recruiter, and been in this business for a while. I'm also author of book Vision in Action, and today's special guest is going to be Modesto Rivero. Really, a man of so many different trades and understandings. And we're going to go deep into his background, and we're going to have a great story today. Desto, say hi to
Excellent.
the good people.
Hello, good people. Hi, Coach Dave. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I think we should go into your story, man. You have such an interesting story. You know, how you gone through all the different industries, gathered all these different skill sets, and now you're here today. So let's start off from the beginning.
So, how did my path cross your path? This is a
Oh,
great
that's also a
story.
really good thing too. We
Exactly,
should
it's
probably begin with
beautiful.
that.
No, it's a great story, Coach. I can begin by I usually start my story from my law school. So, college obviously it impacts a lot of people. I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the University of Montreal. I did my law degree there, learned about civil law, common law, in English and French. I explored Canada so much. And in the beginning of it, I happened to experience my first generational change or impact, which was the '08 financial crisis. So I
Yeah,
got into law school right as the financial crisis was starting to
2008,
emerge.
2008.
2008. And
Yeah.
so by the time I got out of law school, it was just a complete disaster, right? In the middle of my law school, I discovered is something we call the Bitcoin white paper. So it's an explanation of what Bitcoin was about. Bitcoin was released in that area and it totally captivated me. I mean, I was, you can say, crypto native. By the time it came out, I was completely immersed in it. I was completely, taken by it. And by the time I got out of law school, then Ethereum had appeared in Canada. Thanks
Mm.
to the creator of Ethereum, I had this wonderful experience of knowing the ins and outs of this brand new world of cryptocurrency. So I have the world of law, the old world, the law of black and white, written, printed papers. And then I had this brand new world of just pure financial power. And so I got out of law school knowing full well that it wasn't going to be a very very easy time in the job market. I decided to go to the States. I moved to the wonderful city of Miami, where I'm still at,
Yeah.
and I began working with the hardcore banks. So the holders of the keys, the big guns. So I started working for banks. Used my law degree to get myself into the anti-money laundering world, where I learned everything from fraud to counterterrorism, a bunch of really, really, really incredible topics that I'm still very passionate about. So as you can tell, I start getting very passionate about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But as I did my work in the anti-money laundering world, using the tools, doing the research, we're combining the legal world with the investigations world, I started to combine it with the crypto world, where I landed myself a position in a crypto exchange, mixing everything, the legal world, the AML world, and the technology world. And that's where my interest for actually the development of software, the use of software, became more apparent. So then I started doing my own smart contracts. I learned about the languages, the computing languages to write them, to program with.
Yeah. And let's pause there in terms
Sure.
of smart contracts. So that's a really big piece, and it links back to your law
Correct.
degree as well,
Correct.
because I'm pretty sure majority of people don't fully understand smart contracts
They don't.
and don't fully understand even what coin it goes on, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we talk a little bit more about Ethereum, which is where the smart contracts live. Talk more about contracts based off your law background and go a little bit over there.
Sure. Well, it's precisely what I was explaining at the beginning. As I'm doing law and I'm learning all these bunch of old school rules that people follow with paper and Lens Inc., I noticed that the future was going to be more digital. So the importance of the smart contract is that there is an entire computer in Ethereum. It's a virtual computer that lives in the cloud that you can connect with and run programs and make programs out of. And those programs can become smart contracts, and they can run anything from your NFTs, if you're still into NFTs, or you can do contracts for releasing money and changing money and verifying identities. So it's an entire world of code that lives outside of what we call the Web 2 world. So it's just different coding, different functions, different languages. And so the connection to the law degree was that I knew that once this technology was understood, better understood, and it was going to be widely accepted, then certain aspects of the legal world, of the actual lawyer's functions, were going to either completely change or completely disappear. I don't know if you know a lot about the notaries. Notaries are legally trained people that stamp papers and say, hey, I assure you that this person is this person because I
Yeah.
saw it. This function is going to be replaced very easily by a couple of smart contracts that can verify everything from your identification to where you live to what you're trading.
So
So
notaries are going away.
I wouldn't say they're going away, but you can definitely tell that the technology is going to impact their careers, their
Yeah.
choices, their
Yes.
functions,
Yes.
their existence, I would say. And so with lawyers and then, legal assistants, all of these things are going to get impacted because the technology is going to revolutionize the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll get into kind of the revolution, I don't know, got to say revelization, or how do you even say if there's a
The
word?
disruption. I like the word disruption.
The disruption is a lot better of the industry and everything. Let's continue on with your story. You're at the crypto company,
Yeah.
and
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 then
what
I get
happens there?
into data, my data time. So then I
Mhm.
started, then inside of this crypto world, I got a bunch of data that at first it was so much and that there were so many things that I didn't know what to do with.
Mhm.
But learning is a skill, right? So you learn how to learn. So I learned how to learn. So I sat down, I said, I need to get a grip on this data world. And there's nothing like putting your butt in the chair and hacking at it and doing and going
Yeah.
at it. Perseverance, something very human. So
Yeah.
then I learned the technology, the software of it, like the back end, the front end, what happens in the back, where the data comes from, how it gets transformed and gets rendered in front of you, and what you do with it. And then going at it, and then I started teaching it. So then I went into the University of Miami and I started teaching programming, fintech boot camps. I started teaching people what I learned, which is something also very human about learning and teaching, right? It's about like how your brain learns as you're teaching it. And so I
Mhm.
got really good at it. And then I got a position where it landed me right in the middle of it. So my second evolution was into the product world, product
Mhm.
management, product ownership, and in that respects, I got the ability to add to this legal world, to this technology world. I got to learn I did product management and I did user research. I did a little bit of software engineering. I did a little bit of data
Man,
wrangling.
you became like a full stack
Person.
person.
I became like a full stack person. That's one of my favorite let's say nicknames. So there's this thing where you could do the front end aspect of it, the selling of it, the contacting a person and telling them about their solution, and then there's that aspect of going to the solution and following its development and keeping the stakeholders up to date. And then there's that part of it where you gotta get your hands dirty. You have to raise your sleeves and then get into the data. What's going on with it? Is there a translation on the software on the front end part of it that nobody's doing? I got to jump into those kinds of things. And so little by little, without me knowing it, I was eventually getting prepared to sort of understand this world of the development, the software development of it. And
Mm.
then I had this opportunity to touch this brand new world of artificial intelligence, which is where I'm at right now.
Perfect. Yeah, and so as you go through this journey, we cross paths at Moody's, and you learned a lot from working there as well, and and you're able to really use all those different skill sets at Moody's to in one position to really work them all together and really become that person that understands all of them.
Correct. Yeah. The great the great luck of all of this is that as you get a little bit of attention, or let's say you get a little bit of trust,
Hmm.
and you're enabled to expand without fear. That's one of the greatest things that happened in my
Hmm.
experience. So then there was this period where I was allowed to explore fearlessly without a restriction of a job function or a title. It's more like you're an employee and you're here to make value, and you find yourself value wherever you find it. Do,
It
do
sounds
it.
like freedom is what you're
It
talking
was a
about. It sounds like freedom.
was a very freeing. It's a very freeing experience where your limitations is you. Your limitations is your mentality. Your limitation is your ingenuity. Your limitations
Hmm.
your imagination. And so if you have good imagination, if you have work ethics, and you put them all together and you're giving freedom, you find yourself in this position where you don't let, the way I explained it is, you don't let the technology rule you, you rule the technology. And this is
Hmm.
where the last part of my career has been in the experience, not only the ideation, it's the philosophical experience of being able to train these massive computers with these incredibly complex models, with this beautiful data, and bring the art of being a human to it, of how you can literally let the machines do the stuff you don't want to do, and focus yourself in what really engages you as a human,
Yeah,
as a
I
worker.
100% agree with that one, right? I mean, I definitely want AI to just do my laundry and do the things that I don't want to do.
Exactly. I love that meme where it says, "I want to be in the
There's
world.
a meme like that,
I
right?
want
Yeah,
to live in the world where the AI is doing the laundry and the taxes, and I'm doing the poems, and I'm doing the painting and the sculpting."
yeah.
Because
The
what good is
imagine
it
using your imagination, using
being a human, being
being human,
alive
yeah, being
to
more human for
enjoy,
sure.
exactly, being alive to enjoy, to
Yeah.
be able to not dread the day. You see, and one of the reasons why I want to be here and I want to take this opportunity to talk to you is to talk to those people who dread Mondays. The Mondays
Mm.
were not made to be hated. And Mondays is
Yeah.
just another day. It's a separation from Sunday to Monday. They are not made to be hated. If you hate your Mondays, I would definitely invite you to rethink the purpose,
Hmm.
because the AI is telling me myself, like, the AI is a tool. It's just a tool, and it's as good as you can do and you can imagine it to do, but it's a tool. If the human behind it thinks the user is dumb or lazy, or if the human behind it doesn't really understand what they're doing, and they're just giving all these bunch of resources to do, they're just going to come up with very, very difficult very difficult use cases for what they're doing. But if you're giving a human with the ingenuity, with the freedom, with the
Hmm.
knowledge, and you empower them, then with all these bunch of tools that are now available to us, you have this new workforce, you have this new employee, you have this new person that is enhanced by the technology, not afraid of the technology. That
Yeah.
is where I want to take
Yeah.
it.
And it's really interesting when you think about the technology and everything because it's uh, it's only as good as the person behind it to a certain degree, right?
Indeed.
And there's so many aspects to it too, because I've worked with like a good amount of data science people, and one of the most interesting things I've heard, I've learned about was the idea that like about biases too, because all like if the data being put in has a bias in the beginning, then the output is going to have a biased output as well. So it really all starts out with the inputs. And like if it's a person that is ingenuous, imaginative, and it starts out with a real strong input, output is going to be good. It's going to be greater. It's going to be better.
Correct. No, and it's totally the idea of it is only as good as the person behind it, but there is the person. And I think that that's more or less where my message would be more about the FOMO and about the fear of the new. And I think it has to be addressing that perspective of that there's still going to be that human. There's a human in here.
Yeah.
There's a human element that has to be taken into account, that has to be explored individually. Each person has to have their own sort of idea, their own relationship to tech. What do you want to use it with? Do you just want to be a consumer? Do you feel that's the kind of life you want? It's good. There is the other path. You want to explore it. You want to develop it. You want to criticize it. Do you want to break it?
Yeah.
Do you want to test it? All those things are there for you. It's just a question of perspective.
100%. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things I do want to talk about here as we go through is the human condition, right? The human condition, which is also the name of a book by Hannah Arendt. But beyond that, the human element of all these things is so interesting to me. Particularly for me, I've always, you know, thought about it from the perspective of, you know, well, if you have, you know, GPT and you have YouTube, you have all these different things, it makes you feel as if you're like all knowing and you have, you know everything, right? But the truth is, reality is you don't. Sure. I mean, and I think that's what really makes the case for the human, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still your embodiment or your deep understanding or your internalization of that knowledge that makes the difference. You know, you can look at something on YouTube, you can do that. Or you could put some in ChatGPT, but you haven't embodied any of those things that you have just looked at. What's your experience with that?
Well, I will start with there are new things. So there are things that we can't embody. Like remember back in the day, we were talking about prompt engineering as an actual job, right? Prompt engineering, exactly. It's a joke, internal joke, but there is that part of there's things that are completely new, and we're gonna have to explore it hand to hand with the computers, and those are fine. Those are things that we won't know because they're new. But then there's this remnant of the and I'm gonna say the bad word, COVID. I know a lot of people are still very, very sensitive about that, but because the pandemic truly impacted us. And this changed a lot of things, the way we work, remote work. And one of the things that we were discussing into our personal discussions is how people became so isolated. And technology made us feel like we were connected. Like right now, we're talking. You're in South Carolina. I'm in Florida, and we feel like we're together, and we are in a sense. But it is only when we get together, we hang out, we eat mangoes, and we skateboard that that we are together. That we are friends. We gotta eat mangoes. But where I was going with it is the remnants of the pandemic are still with us. We were in a house for 2 years, watching YouTube videos and thinking that we are connected to the world when we in fact physically weren't.
Great point.
And now that we have to go back into the world, now we have to go back to the offices, now that we are discussing all these things, you have the AI cloud on top of it. And now people are sort of lost. It's like, and this is where you get that example, that feeling of, oh, I know everything. Like, why would I want to pay for that? Or why would I want to do this when I can just ask? And then there is that explanation of there are certain activities as a human that you must do with interaction with another human. It's like trying to learn medicine without a body.
Yeah, it's like nursing, right? Like nursing,
psychology,
and a person for the IV.
Bingo. I talked to a lot of people about philosophy. People that just read philosophy books and they call themselves philosophers. You're not a philosopher. Philosopher it has the dialect aspect to it. You must be talking to the other human to see what they react about your ideas. And we've lost this act of the dialect of the conversation because we're just sending emails and text messages. And now we have other people who just have AI respond to their emails. We're not even emailing them, you see?
Yeah.
So that's where I think the most impact on the human condition would be.
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
have to come to terms with the fact that we were alone and we were separated for many, many months, many years. We had
yeah,
technology that makes us think we're connected, but we aren't. And then we're
yeah.
dealing with a world that's still very, very physical and that is still very, very complex. And we have to take off that idea that we know everything just because we have access to these tools.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I really like the idea you were talking about the cloud, or you're saying like there was a cloud over us. Another way of saying it is like um, the algorithm.
Yeah.
You can almost get stuck in an algorithm that they have created for you. It's not your actual. It's not
No,
real life actually. It's just that
it's
they
a template of an algorithm in which you have fallen into.
fallen into.
And then what we were discussing personally on the side was there is this danger of the if you like this, then you love that. You see, that
Mm.
is where you get stuck. So you go somewhere, you clicked on something, and the algorithm picked you up, and then it's going to grab what other people did with that same choice, and it's going to
Mhm.
feed you those choices. But it's never going to feed you a truly, completely individualized option for you. It would give you, these
Yeah,
are
because you're human.
suggestions
You have to pick
because
your.
you're human. You live on that, you are in the physical space. You are divided and constrained by time and space, correct?
Yeah.
So then the computer will never know that because the computers don't have restrictions on space and time. They have restrictions on electricity and energy, on how much it costs you on your AWS bill. True, but they will
Mhm.
never have they don't have time. They don't care how long it takes you to buy this, or they don't care how long it takes you to find the next job. They're just computers and they are great at what they do. But that
Mhm.
aspect of being alive in that moment and getting what you need as a human in that moment, they will never understand. So there is that danger that you can get stuck on a loop
Mhm.
of, because going back to, let's say, career choices, sometimes you have to step out of yourself to
Yeah.
find your
Get
next
that
step.
third party perspective.
You need a third eye. You need a helper, because if you are confused, if you are broken, if you are angry, if you whatever get
Or
put
you're just consumed in your own situation.
it
You could be
is
so consumed, so close to your own situation you can't
correct.
see.
Correct. You didn't think about it, but I will keep it with confusion and brokenness.
Yeah.
If you are confused and you are broken, if you look within yourself, what's gonna come out, regardless of
Oh
how
yeah.
many hours and how many GPT's questions and how many tokens you've used burning thinking of about yourself, you only get back brokenness and confusion, and that's where another human is needed. You see, it's the
Mm.
human condition.
100%. Yeah. It's an interesting point, man. I mean, really, getting that third party or getting that like outside perspective from from your own life. I mean, people. I mean, one of the things about human beings is we could lose perspective pretty quickly.
No, we do.
We can lose perspective pretty quickly. I know. I mean, just being human, um, you can start to doubt, and you can lose perspective, and then you start going down the wrong path.
But think about it. Those words exist for a reason. Confusion, brokenness, all those things are they are words because they exist and they exist within us. Their word confusions is there because at one point in your life you will be confused. The brokenness is there. It exists in the lingo because at some point in your life you're going to be broken. You see,
Yeah.
there those things are very human. The computers will never understand that.
No.
If you're broken and you start a broken algorithm with broken data, the computer will never stop and think, hey, this is broken output. No, the computer will just give you the output.
And
It's
yeah.
still broken, and it's kind of sad because you're losing all that time. When back to one of our original points was you should be enjoying your life.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be fearing the computer. You should be enjoying the computer, and you shouldn't be working because of the computer. You shouldn't be working despite the computer. You should be working because of the computer.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the Bitcoin and Ethereum piece, talking about how, banking and talking about how technology has changed things for us. Um, I want to get your opinion on that as well. I thought that you have since you have that good background in crypto and blockchain. and that sort of thing. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking about I love Ethereum, the Ethereum virtual machine. I don't think it was a coincidence that it was developed in Canada. So shout out to my Ethereum people. Back when I was in Canada, I saw the beginning of this and I understood what it was. And what I can tell you is it's blockchain, artificial intelligence, Excel sheets. They're all tool. And what they allow you to do is express what's inside of you. If you're here to make money, Ethereum can make you money. If you're here to teach other people, there's a tool for that. If you're here to make art and share art and sell your art, you do an NFT, there it is. So back to the idea is that it's not the technology that's going to determine what your worth is. It's not
Yeah.
the technology that's going to say what you should be or not be doing. It is a tool. It is lifeless. It doesn't have a life of its own.
Mm.
You are the life. You are the one that has the choices to do in the universe, right? And that's where I think the only advice I could give on that side of technology would be it has effort. Taking the time off your day to sit down, get on a computer and read and study and going at it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. It is an endeavor. It's a function you have to do. There's no computer that can tell you. There is no shorting the time. It's something you have to. But once you start, it becomes super easy. It's just a snowball. All I can say is it's a really hard learning curve. It's a really hard
Steep
curve
learning
to
curve.
get
Yeah.
into. It's steep to get into it. But once you pass the beginning, it's just downhill from there. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, I love that. And yeah, I mean,
And then I'm
go.
sorry, coach, but I would say on the financial part of it, you said something about the banks and the financial side. The financial side
Yes.
of it is also the understanding to the person that they are an agent. They are an individualized agent of the economy. They exist and therefore they consume and create. I would say without getting into much complication or too much, let's say, controversy, I think the financial institutions, everybody they do understand that the whole economy has to be around the human. We haven't gotten to that position yet. We haven't gotten to that world where we understand what each and every human needs and requires, but it's slowly getting there into an understanding of the value of the user.
Yeah, it's so interesting, really. And I think we could go on and on with this conversation
For
because
sure.
there's so much meat in the bone here.
Yeah.
Just to kind of recap, one of the interesting pieces there that we talked about was that the technology is mirroring kind of who you are, right? If you're confused, it's only going to spit back more confusion. But if you're a person that is grateful and compassion, it's gonna get more to the grateful and compassion side. So I think that where we're going to need to be is going towards more the grateful, appreciative space, so that we can mirror that back in our technology and mirror that back into our world.
Correct. There you go.
And there,
I truly believe on that. I truly believe that if you think about the masons in the Middle Ages that constructed those beautiful, beautiful churches, they didn't have automated machines. They had to do each and every one of those gargoyles, each and every one of those details on those incredibly high, big. Those were the biggest buildings in history for many years, right?
yeah,
Those masons put their lives into it and they
yeah,
reflected them. Some of them put their faces into their thing. They carved themselves into the building. And that is something that the human has to get back to. The reason I got into software development, the reason I was inside of the product world is because I wanted to bring my knowledge of compliance into the creation of the software. No more was I going to let some person that did not know anything about money laundering do the software, because by the time that software got to me, it didn't reflect anything of what I did. I had to change everything to really put that compliance function, to put that anti-money laundering function of this technology. I had to go in there and make it. I had to put a little bit of myself in it. And that's not happening anymore.
Wow, that's potent, man. That's
There you
potent
go.
stuff, man. I appreciate that.
It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
well, like, we're gonna close this down here. Modesto, it's been great speaking with you. You're online. You're on LinkedIn.
Right.
They can pull you up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't think there's more Modesto Riveros out there. I've searched. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm definitely into conversations. I have more than enough time to discuss anything, especially people who want to get into any of the topics that I get into. So yeah, more than welcome.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate your time, Modesto, and we are out.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
Thank you, everyone.